Good evening. The hour being after 6:45, it's my pleasure to call the February 6, 2025 School Committee meeting to order. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a very special and very bittersweet recognition this evening for our very own Mary Mortali. Dr. Goff?
Sure. So, as you know, Mary Mortali has been an integral member of the superintendent's office and the school committee for the past 15 years. And she is retiring effective February 14th, which is next Friday. Count down the days, Mary?
Yeah.
And we are so, yeah, it's bittersweet, right? We're really grateful for her dedicated services and, countless contributions to the district. She's been, to say that she's been invaluable is an understatement. I think we know that. And we wish her all the best in her retirement, and it's well-deserved retirement. Also, to take her place, if you see that stranger that's sitting next to Mrs. Mortali, I'm really pleased to announce that Jennifer Breen, she's currently the secretary at Elm Street School, and she's going to be transitioning to this role. She has over 20 years of experience in our district, and she really brings a wealth of experience to the superintendent's office. So we're really fortunate enough to have someone like Jennifer with her skills and expertise to step right in. They've been doing a lot of transition work, the last week, this week, a little bit next week, so we can have a nice transition, and I know the district will be in really good hands. So we congratulate Jennifer Breen, and we also congratulate Mary Mortali on a well-deserved retirement.
Thank you. Absolutely. Questions or comments from the committee? Mr. Buckley.
Through, Mary, we want to thank you on your well-deserved retirement because of the way we do central registration. Very often, you're the first, friendliest face of our district to the people who are newest to Walpole, and also you do so much for us as a body as well, keeping us, having the right papers in front of us and dropping up our packets for us, and just doing a lot for so many years. And we're so grateful that as someone who takes care of a lot of people, including us, you can move on to take care of your grandkids and visit people, and we're very grateful for your lifetime. It's, I believe, all told, about a quarter century of work here in the district, when you add some of the elementary schools you were in as well, so it's well-deserved. It's a great time to not go to work in the snow. But, we know where you live. You're right down the street, so we hope you won't be far, and we just congratulate you on this well-deserved retirement.
Thank you.
Mrs. Rogers?
You know how much I love you, Mary. I'm going to miss you. It's always, you have such a warm, amazing energy that, I'll miss sitting next to me. Usually when we have our meetings, you sit next to me. But I'm so excited for you and your retirement, and I know it's going to be amazing time with your family. So we'll miss you, but it's exciting for you too.
Thank you.
You can just go down the line, right? We'll just pile on and say, thank you, Mary, for everything. Years ago, being a new member of the school committee, it's, you work with the superintendent and these guys, but you also do a lot to kind of onboard us and really help us, so always appreciated that. Back when we had to show up in your office and sign everything, so it was
The warrants, yeah.
coming for the warrants. It was always nice to have a friendly little chit chat at the same time, so that will definitely be missed. But again, appreciate everything you've done for us and well-deserved time with your family.
Thank you.
Same thing, yeah. We're going to miss you
Thank you.
a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to honestly say, I'll miss all of you, too. And I don't think I'll miss going out at night to the meetings. And I give you guys a lot of credit for all you do, honestly. It's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege to work with all of you. And you are in good hands. Jen's going to be great. Yeah.
I don't want to skip you, Jen, if you have anything.
Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like when I started, you were there, and like they said, this friendly face, my children grew up, and you always commented, and you just bring like everyone said, such warmth to the position, so you are going to be greatly missed, and I don't want to get all teary, so I'm going to stop.
I know. The privilege has been ours too, Mary, really, truly. We will miss you. Maybe after a meeting, we'll just walk down the street and knock on your door and say,
Absolutely.
you'll love that.
I would love that. I might be a little surprised, but come on in.
Or you can just come and make, citizens' comments.
Maybe I'll be the
every day.
citizen. I just might.
Before 6 PM, though, right? Before 6 PM. We don't do late night.
We also have a congratulatory document from the Massachusetts House of Representatives that we want to present you with, as well as some tokens of appreciation from the 7 of us. We are eternally grateful to you. We wish you nothing but the best in this next chapter, which we hope will be very long and happy.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
It felt surreal until just now. Thank you.
And let's now turn to Mrs. Breen and just say welcome. And we are, very excited to have you. And it sounds like there couldn't be a better person to step into Mary's shoes. And we look forward to getting to know you as we've gotten to know Mary. Any other questions or comments?
Well, and I said to Ms. Breen that, she's the Elm, has been an Elm for so long through my children going there. So, yeah, so I was like, well, I'm actually probably gonna see you more. So I won't I don't have to miss her at Elm. I get to see her here more. So we're very excited.
You can all call me Jen.
Okay. Now we have two
That
Jens.
your weird name.
So now we have 2 Jens and 2 Breens, so we're gonna have to figure out how to do this. Yeah, thank you for being with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
I look forward to it.
Okay, moving on, our next item of business is the Walpole High School Student Report, and we have Grace Qualter with us tonight. Go ahead, Grace.
Hi, my name is Grace Qualter, and thank you so much for having me back here tonight. As the weather is getting colder, Walpole High students are now halfway done with the 2024 and 2025 school year. New opportunities for students interested in nursing. Mass General Brigham has announced a new internship program for juniors and seniors, age 16 and over. This immersive experience spans 4 days and will introduce students to pathology and laboratory medicine at Mass General Brigham as a hands-on experience, bridging classroom knowledge with real-world medicine science. This internship will be held over vacation weeks in summer break and requires an application, but it's free of cost. More new and exciting things are happening. As this past week, MyCap seminars started for the sophomores and juniors. This program is part of the implementation of Innovation Pathways program here at Walpole High. These seminars will rotate every other cycle with the counseling department during students' B block study hall. What is MyCap? MyCap stands for My Career and Academic Plan. It is an initiative by the Massachusetts Department of Education and Secondary Education to prepare students for college, career, and civic readiness. The MyCap process engages students in authentic post-secondary planning through activities, lessons focused on individual students' interests, skills, and talents. Student Council just submitted their state portfolio trying for their 12th year as Gold Council in the state. Additionally, 2025 class senior superlatives were also just announced by the yearbook. Some of the superlatives were friendliness, best dress, best smile, most athletic, and best all around. Giving seniors the chance to vote for these superlatives is an excellent way for the senior class to bond before graduating. In Walpole High sports, girls basketball has had a good season so far, and so has girls and boys hockey. This past week for Walpole High sports, they have been Morgan's Message Awareness Games, which calls attention to mental health in sports. Overall, as the third term just started, we are getting back to work just in time for February break to start on February 14th. That's all I have for today. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you very much, Grace. Any questions or comments?
Fantastic report.
Thank you.
I'm going to put my school counselor hat on for a minute and say I'm very excited by the MyCap news. That's considered something that's very important for high schools to have implemented, to make sure that all students are getting help developing a plan for post-secondary, whether it's college or career or something else, so that's exciting. So thank you so much for being with us, Grace. Okay, under new business tonight, we have an update from our history department with Mr. Donahue and Ms. O'Rourke. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening. I am again Jody O'Rourke, the 6 to 8 Humanities Coordinator at Walpole Middle School, and I will start. I'm happy to be back to report again on what is happening in the content area of social studies at Walpole Middle School. Much like their ELA counterparts, the teachers have settled into the new space and are building relationships with their teammates. Their classrooms are designed with lots of technology in mind, like smart boards, sound systems, projectors, and maps. Being next door to their ELA counterparts allows for those invaluable hallway chats and can make the sharing of literacy materials and ideas quicker and easier for a more humanities approach. We continue to make moves to build some of their confidence and expertise in delivering literacy-based lessons, and they have their own IXL accounts so they too can access student data and the strands of reading, writing, vocab, and grammar. As dedicated professionals, they continue to grow their practice during PLC meetings, professional development, individual coursework, and conferences like the National Conference of Social Studies, which was held in Boston in November, which myself, Lisa Goldman, and Elizabeth Ewell attended. Looking at student work and reflecting on past lessons has shifted the emphasis a little in grade 6 to focus more on reading and writing skills like annotating, close reading, outlining, labeling, and short written responses. Ms. Meredith LaRusso did a phenomenal job over the summer, revising the grade 6 common assessments to align with the skill development and the gradual release of responsibility with provided scaffolds, and they have been very successful thus far. Depth versus breadth with literacy skills layered on top of content has been the avenue to focus in this grade level for sure. Students are also actively engaging with content creatively, like making shields and performing skits to illustrate the laws of Hammurabi. In addition, the docent program continues to be a wonderful part of the family community engagement at Walpole Middle School in both grade 6 and 7. At the grade 7 level, Mr. Ralph Ross has been instrumental in revising both the docent presentations on Hinduism and Buddhism, and then the one that aligns with the grade 7 field trip to the MFA in the spring. Particular attention is given to the artifacts from Greece and Rome, since mythology is also a topic of study in Term 4 for ELA. The grade 7 teachers have also adopted and revised one of the investigating history units using the novel A Single Shard, so it is nice to see that students have novels in their hands in social studies class. Last but not least, our grade 8 students are immersed in the world of civics and are learning how our government works. Participating in the first civics MCAS last spring, our Walpole students did very well, outperforming the state in 13 of the 15 released test questions. This year, they will take this assessment on May 28th and 29th. All grade 8 students traveled to the Edward M. Kennedy Institute in December and participated in a mock Senate simulation while taking on the persona of a senator and engaging in breakout sessions to work on a mock bill about climate change. Both Mr. Donahue and myself were able to chaperone, so we saw firsthand how the students were able to be actively engaged and immersed in the legislative branch of government. Students in grade 8 continue to build their literacy skills within the content and engage in many written and verbal opportunities to express their opinion and viewpoints, which is an essential college and career-ready skill. During their PLC meetings this week, the teachers were actively planning the Supreme Court projects, a grade-level debate, and the civics projects. On Monday after school, our curriculum meetings will take place, and the social studies and ELA teachers will come together for a second time this year to look at the data from the winter IXL diagnostic and how this can inform their practice in both disciplines to promote the growth of our reading and writing skills. It is a welcome sight to see this opportunity to support student success. Thank you again for your continued support in this part of the humanities puzzle.
Thank you. Should we pause if there are any questions or comments about, let's see, the middle school level? Okay. Perhaps some may come up after we hear about, from the 6 through 12 perspective. So go ahead, Mr. Donahue.
Great. Nice to see everybody tonight. Again, I'm Mike Donahue, Social Studies Department Chair. A little bit of what we're working on currently at the high school. We're in the middle of professional development to enhance differentiation in all of our core courses. And tomorrow, as part of the early release schedule, we have a 1-hour Zoom scheduled with Eric Carbaugh of James Madison University. And we've prepared some specific questions for him, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about how we can more effectively differentiate our classes to help all of our students. This year, social studies is going through a curriculum review. The world history team is in the middle of 4 meetings to reevaluate the curriculum, and again, as differentiation has been a theme, talk about differentiation in the world history course. After February break, the U.S. and the Modern World team is going to get together and take on a similar task. And then something I'm really looking forward to is we're going to get some 8th grade teachers and 10th grade teachers together to talk about the civic engagement project. Both groups have kind of been operating in a silo for the past few years with the civic engagement project, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to get teachers from both groups together to talk about what has been working, what some of the challenges have been, and possibilities of linking the student experience from 8th grade to 10th grade. The high school teachers are also currently in the middle of a book study, Developing Historical Thinkers by Bruce Lesh. I searched for, I think, over a year to find a book that I really wanted to have everybody in the department read, and this was one of the best books that I found that really specifically targeted social studies education and how to create really effective lessons to get all students engaged in their learning. And so we are, I think, we're through 6 of 8 chapters, so we're moving towards the end of our book study. If we look back at last school year, the civic engagement projects at the high school, there were a variety of topics that student groups tackled, including youth vaping, road and street lights, sidewalks and crosswalks in Walpole, public transportation access, local wildlife endangerment, food insecurity, school lunches, reckless driving in the high school parking lot, dangers of social media, and screen addiction, and littering and pollution. So those groups took their projects through the 6 stages last year. The current sophomores are in the beginning stages of identifying an issue that they want to emphasize over the second half of the school year. One specific note I wanted to make about one of our teachers, Phil Balkus. In 2022, Phil was named the James Madison Fellow for the state of Massachusetts. The James Madison Fellowship recognizes 1 teacher per state per year. So Phil was the one for Massachusetts in 2022. He'd been enrolled in the program since 2021. In the summer of 2023, he attended the James Madison Constitutional Institute during the summer, and he is currently writing his thesis on Horace Mann, the father of American education, educational reformer, a representative from Massachusetts in the House of Representatives, and the first secretary of the Massachusetts Board of Education. I wanted to report on our AP scores as well, looking at the exams that were taken last May. We've had continued success in our U.S. history, European history, and AP psychology courses, with the average on all 3 exams comfortably over 4, with the overwhelming majority of our students earning a passing grade of 3, 4, or 5. One of the things that I have talked about with this group over the last couple of years is trying to increase AP enrollment. This is my 12th year as Social Studies Department Chair. Every year except this year, we've had 2 classes of AP U.S. History students taking the exam. This year, we have 3. So that was following this group from sophomore year now into junior year. I'm looking forward to seeing how those students do, and I'm really glad to see our numbers increasing, specifically in that course. One of the other things that I've been talking about with this group for a couple of years is adding AP United States Government and Politics, and we did at the beginning of this school year. Just looking back a little bit about how we got here, our teacher, Ms. Rafferty, she completed a summer institute in the summer of 2023. She spent a lot of time doing curriculum development over this past summer, and in the spring of last year, we adopted American Politics and Government Today after both teacher and student evaluations. And we're currently going through the first year of the course. A couple of the highlights that Ms. Rafferty wanted me to mention is that the students have interviewed people from different generations to learn about how their experiences and their life has influenced their voting patterns. They've looked at the history of voting rights in the United States. They've been using current events as a case study for how government functions, both theoretically and practically. And one of the highlights of the year, as I have some images here, is our students took place in exit polling on Election Day, November 5th. And since it would probably be a lot more interesting to hear from some students who are enrolled in the AP Government class, I have asked, and Maddie, Nadia, and Dylan have come to speak a little bit about their experiences in AP Government this year. So I will step aside and let the three of them talk to you.
Welcome, Maddie, Nadia, and Dylan.
Hi everyone, I'm Madison Gray. I'm a current junior at Walpole High School. I've been lucky enough to have Miss Rafferty, the AP Government teacher, for 2 years now, and when I found out about this course last March when I was picking my current junior schedule, I was very thoroughly excited to find out that AP US Government was being added. I've always enjoyed history and civics throughout middle school and high school, so I knew this class was definitely going to be informative and very interesting, especially the year being 2024 election. We've done a lot of current events and looking at different units and topics, and as we do that, we've seen it through the election, like political campaigning, political funding, different departments, what they do, how the branches all run, and being able to see that in real life on the news, like CNN, ABC, Fox, and being able to differentiate the different political spectrums of each website was really informative to see. Also being able to watch the inauguration speech in class, being able to watch the voting statistics going up and down throughout the weekend and in class, and also being able to do the exit polling was really fun, and just being able to see a bunch of people from Walpole and get their opinions on everything. So I'll hand it over to Nadia to keep talking about the exit polling.
Thank you, Maddie. I also had the benefit of having Miss Rafferty as my teacher for 2 years in a row, and I really think her teaching style has reflected on my learning and my interest in pursuing government and politics in the future. During our second unit, we were able to participate in exit polling, which allowed us to gain a deeper understanding of American political ideologies and beliefs. By analyzing the results of our surveys, we could see how different demographic groups lean politically, which showed us the many different viewpoints across the nation. This hands-on experience also gave us a chance to learn more about voting and the voting process and how elections are influenced by public opinion. We also do more interactive activities throughout class, such as musical essays and a cookie caucus, to help us simulate what the government does on a more simple level to help us really understand what they're doing and how it can benefit.
And so in our third unit, we looked at the party system of the country. And specifically, each and every student gave a presentation on a minor party of their choosing. And through this presentation and their research, we got a very deep understanding of how every single party, even if it's not Democrat or Republican, can affect our personal lives. Currently, we're learning about the three branches of government and how, from like a top-down approach, looking through all of the different components and pieces of them and how they affect us. Personally, this class has been especially valuable because I and many other students in the class are planning to go into government for our professional careers. And I would not hesitate for a moment to recommend this class to any underclassmen thinking about taking it. Thank you.
Thanks to the three of you. Excellent presentation. Questions or comments? Ms. Gaotzitz?
Yeah. Can you explain what a cookie caucus is?
Miss Rafferty, we were learning about caucuses in general and like the Republican and the Democrat and how they've the different states will vote on the primary candidate, and caucuses are one way that they do of that. So basically, to explain it in the cookie form, it's basically that, say if you have Oreos, Chips Ahoy, and Thin Mints, you can only have two choices, but you have students in all three categories. But if there's the least amount in Thin Mints, the students in Oreos and Chips Ahoy will have to convince the students in Thin Mint to join their party or their cookie category in order to go to the next like level almost. And it's a long series of debates that can go on for hours. And it's basically just lots of talking and talking to try and get people who may align with your views on your side.
Do you get to eat the cookies?
This would have been a great hands-on.
Demonstration next time, Mr. Donahue. Who won? I'm just curious.
My class, it was Oreos. Me and Dylan's class, Oreos won. I was on that team. Just throwing that out there.
I think that Thin Mints got robbed, but
Oreos had the best debate.
Oreos won for my class as well.
Further comments or questions? Mr. Buckley?
Through you, Madam Chair, Mr. Breen, who's a history teacher, is not here, so I'll be asking double the questions.
Okay, perfect.
Just to make sure that the field is represented. Thank you so much for this presentation. When I was at Walpole High, we had one section of AP US, and there was like 8 humans in it. And so the possibility that there's now 4 advanced placement courses in history and civics is fantastic, and I think it's an incredibly needed foundational discipline for you guys, especially as you go out into your greater careers. I think whatever you do, learning this type of stuff is a fantastic foundational skill. Dylan did stop me from stuffing the Fisher School exit poll basket on election day, which I suppose is a great lesson learned. But I think it's wonderful to hear your really positive experience. I will on the civic engagement and the civic in the 8th and 10th grade, the hands-on projects you have to. I just happen to be sitting here, right here in the FinCom meeting room, and I was reminded when Maddie walked in that 4 years ago, to about this month, you emailed us as a body for your 8th grade civics project about the masking decision we were about to make. And it was unlike this meeting, it was a very big meeting with a number of members of the public in there, but it was, now you're 4 years later and you're taking advanced history and civics, and I think it just shows you that the importance of being civically engaged, how it's a life, it's not just a course you take, a box you check, it's a orientation on how to kind of live your life, and I'm glad that you are considering public service. I'm happy to talk to you afterwards, but it's a very rewarding field to go into, and I think it's great to also not only see that, but we're really excited once you leave to see your scores, because we know you'll do very well as well. So I think it's a great foundation, and it's good to see all the different ways in which I know a lot of people who perhaps, especially folks who may not have kids or may not be as involved in the Walpole Public Schools and may not have enough touches to find out what's going on. You guys being at the polls and talking about what you're learning. I heard from a number of folks whose kids have long moved on, or who may not be involved in the Walpole Public Schools. How this is a really cool project, and they were so friendly and excited to be out there, unlike perhaps some of us trudging into votes. So I think this is all great stuff, and I hope that we hear back from you folks as you continue on your studies in these fields, that you do great things within them. But that's fantastic. I really think it's great.
Mrs. Galvin?
I just thought your presentation skills are excellent. Obviously, you're passionate about what you were talking about, which helps, but I guess I wanted to just ask you, it sounds in listening that the class that you're taking makes you look at a topic from a variety of perspectives, as opposed to like just tunnel vision, sticking to your own biases, let's say. Can you talk a little bit about how you've grown in that way? Because I think it's fantastic that, that you're spending time doing that, because I think it's good for personal growth and just for us as a school district to be encouraging that in kids.
I think for me at least, like growing up in like the school district, and even just like with my family, and you've always just learned like A or B, like Democrat, Republican, red or blue, but like taking this class is really like what you said, it's like less tunnel vision, like you really see all perspectives, and like Dylan said, like learning about different like minor parties and like third parties was really interesting to talk about, or even like interest groups, and like learning how they were all connected. Like there's just so much more to like government and like different ideologies than just like what like the two main ones, and like being able to see like all of them and like everyone's different perspective, and then like even like reading news articles, being able to differentiate which is like what bias they have has been really like informative and really interesting, at least for me.
Going off that, we also were tasked with watching the presidential debate and the vice presidential debate, and Ms. Rafferty encouraged us not to like pick a side almost and like hear each candidate with their policies and like with an open mind. And we took notes and we had a seminar on it, and we got to hear the different perspectives from our classmates and how they interpreted what each candidate was saying. And definitely, like, aside from the presidential, the vice presidential debate was a lot calmer and like more thorough. So we got to like really learn about the policies of each different party and how they like what beliefs they align with and what like our minds would think about that.
I mean, like, the American government itself, like, Ms. Rafferty's drilled it into us that, like, the Constitution is all up to, like, interpretation. So, I mean, you can't look at it from just, like, left, just from the right. So it's, like, it's important to kind of think from both of them, which I think she's definitely done a great job teaching us how to do that.
Well, you are amazing ambassadors for what we hope is going on in our classrooms, so that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donahue, for bringing students along. It always makes everything come alive for us to hear your firsthand experiences. Thank you also for always rooting your presentation in what was happening a year ago at this time to help us understand the progress that's been made and the areas of focus and how we move forward. So we appreciate that. And to the three of you, while never discourage anyone from undertaking a career in government. However, I will also say that almost none of us up here are full-time government employees, and yet we're still involved in our local government, right? Almost none of us. And so I just want to say that because most of the people involved in town government in Walpole, it's not their day job, right? But it's a way of keeping connected to the community, and it's a way of being involved, and it's a way of, engaging in the civic process when sometimes what's going on in Washington can feel very far away. And so I would just encourage you to keep that in mind too, whatever your future career path may be. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and good luck with the rest of the school year.
Thank you.
Nice
care.
job.
Thank you.
Our next order of business is the superintendent report.
Yes, it's been a day, or a night and a day. I think they're all running
A
together.
night and a day and another night.
So, yes, it was watching monitors and last night and this morning and making the call to, have school. So we're still on.
Strong in the
I
meeting.
don't know if the
Seniors still pissed,
seniors
yeah.
would agree with me, but I do have to say a big thank you to the DPW and especially Drew Hand. They are phenomenal. Even, talking with Drew Hand late last night, it was probably 10 o'clock, and 4 o'clock this morning, just continuously, giving updates and, what they're able to do and how hard they work and how confident they are. I think after these phone calls, I don't know, he might change his number. And all these, late night phone calls, texts, and early morning. But I think that's really what makes a great team, to be able to work collaboratively with the town and to really have confidence and trust in each other. And, we can see what happened, as a result. So I'm sure we'll keep on keeping on with that. Yesterday really held a special significance and marked the 100th day of school. So it really highlights this, steady progression of the academic year and serves as a reminder of the, these moments of learning, growth, and achievement in our classrooms. So, 100 day. I was at Fisher. They were having their Battle of the Books, and Robin Hughes had invited me, so I went down to see. And so they were doing that 3, 4, and 5 down in the cafeteria, and then you had the 100-day, with grade 1. So it was really exciting. Just a reminder, this week we celebrate National School Counselor Week, and Dr. Hahn and I and Mr. Frisha, just want to take a moment to express our gratitude for the incredible work that they do every day to support our students and contribute to the success of not only our students, but really our school community. So thank you. last Friday evening, and I believe Carrie and Kristen, you were there last Thursday evening. But Friday evening, I attended the middle school play, Mystery at Shady Acres. And I also want to congratulate the cast and the crew and the staff for, it was an outstanding performance. Their hard work, their dedication, their talent brought the characters to life, and it really made the very first play at our new middle school truly a memorable one. They set the stage, literally for future productions, right? They were amazing, didn't you think?
It
that
was wonderful.
It was a job well done, and I also wrote a letter to them congratulating them, as well as the staff that their hard work for that play, because I know a lot of time and effort goes into that. Just as a reminder to families, report cards, are available. They can access that through the Aspen portal. I'll put a reminder and a link in that in my update tomorrow. I also wanted to give a brief update too on our strategic plan pillars. I did that in November, so I thought it was a good time in February to give you a little bit of an update. In terms of teaching and learning, the Leadership Council is continuing to work on its professional development, our own professional development, focused on differentiated and student-centered instruction. We're actively participating in a book study on the differentiated school, and we're using structured reflection questions to deepen our own understanding and application of these strategies. As Mike Donahue mentioned, at Walpole High School, the commitment to differentiated instruction remains strong. He mentioned the facilitator that's been working with individual departments during early release days, and they're providing some really nice small group presentations and answering questions by department to ensure that we want our professional development. We know what the research says about tailoring professional development instead of, always having these one shot, one size fits all. And so really being responsive to our teacher needs. In terms to assess staff understanding and implementation of our multi-tiered system of support implementation, especially we are conducting a randomized survey to 100 staff members that will clarify how MTSS is really defined across our schools, and we want to be able to gather some examples of how they're implementing this in practice. This is really important because it'll continue to inform our training and professional development, and also how to best support our staff. The middle school staff have really taken a leadership role in refining their Tier 1 instructional supports. They're presenting strategy to their peers to enhance instructional practices across the district. Additionally, middle school staff have been engaging in their own professional development with Dr. Curtis Bates, and topics covered are including structured tier assignments, proactive teaching principles, how do we measure the success of these tier supports you can give them, but we need to see if they're working. How do we implement high leverage instructional practices, and how do we implement effective intervention discussions? So really a lot of their early release are focused on that. In terms of our school and community culture, we continue to advance our work on establishing a unified set of district-wide core values. So the process has included developing the purpose and rationale of creating district-wide core values. If you remember, we established a protocol for principals to collect and share feedback on core value beliefs from our school councils. And what I'm handing you today is that we collected all of the feedback from all school councils, and we identified common themes, anywhere. We figured we'd start with 7. You really want your core values to be 5. 7's a lot, but if you can get it around 5. So these are the common themes that came from our school councils. So next, what we're going to do is we have a small protocol that will gather some additional stakeholder feedback on these themes from various groups. Again, our school counselors, our leadership councils are looking at it, school committee, superintendent cabinet, we focused on that last month, and some other local focus groups at each school. So for example, handing this out to school committee, it would be helpful to get feedback from you in your, I always say, in your free time, to take a look at this and give us some feedback, you know. Is there anything that's missing that you think could be added? That's one question we ask people. Are there some themes that you think could be grouped together? You know, not so much as the wording, but really taking the look at the themes. And then taking a look and ranking them for us from 1 to 7. You know, what do you see as, and we can, and then we're gonna get everybody's feedback and come up with another second draft for these core values and refine them in probably March. The expansion of after-school programming at the middle level has been highly successful with a diverse range of offerings across the academic, creative, and athletic domains. Just wanted to give you some examples of some offerings. A lot of STEM, Lego robotics, 3D printing, engineering design challenges. Cooking classes are very popular. Helping homeless pets is very popular. And then volleyball is often running. And another one for sports that's very popular, strength, speed, and mobility. Additionally, like I mentioned, the middle school play was recently concluded, and the students are now actively preparing for the spring musical, which will be performed in April. And then finally, in terms of finance and operations, I've already updated you on the modulars, and Mike is working with everybody that he needs to be working with in terms of like getting the schematic design and getting everything ready to go for the 25-26 school year at Boyden. So that's my update. And then finally, just some other upcoming events, early release tomorrow. Reminder, Monday we have the Finance Committee meeting, followed by Tuesday, some of us have the Middle School Building Committee. It's in person. And then followed by PBC, that's us. And February break is the following week. And I'm gonna hold off on the legislative breakfast because for Nancy, is that part of subcommittee?
Is that all?
Yeah. It's been a long-
stretch.
It's been a long week, yeah. A good week, productive week, you know, we've had, collective bargaining, we've had a lot of budget meetings, and, so it's busy, but you always know February's a busy month.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Goff? Thank you for the strategic plan updated. That's very useful, and
I'll give you
it's nice to
another
hear.
one in May, so
Great.
you'll have 3.
Yeah. Okay, we will move on to old business, starting with a budget update.
Okay, you wanna start, and I can chime in, and
Sure. So I was originally going to provide an FY '26 update, but realized that FY '25 is important to talk about, and we have some significant challenges going on right now, so I wanted to let you know about those, and then that would lead into the FY '26 budget. So our FY '25 budget is facing some challenges that we faced in the past related to special education. Our current special ed deficit is approximately 1.6 million, driven by increased tuition and transportation costs. Since the budget was finalized in May of 2024, since 2024 in May, this deficit is in addition to the increase in the special education budget for FY '25 of $1,323,000. So we are really struggling. Special ed has taken on a whole different persona at this point, and we are managing it as best we can, but we are facing some significant challenges. A deficit of this magnitude is unprecedented, especially with 5 months remaining in the fiscal year. So we are concerned this is where we are. A lot of our carryover circuit breaker has been utilized, most of it, and we don't have a lot of options for how to proceed. So we're watching things very closely. Every change that John Quealy in the special ed department runs into, he notifies the special ed, the business office as well as the superintendent's office to keep us apprised of how things are going. The school department's reserve circuit breaker, which is, the school committee has supported that over the past 3 years as we've built that balance and used that as a reserve account, unfortunately has been exhausted at this point. So we are, again, dealing with some limited resources to cover any additional deficits going forward. I wanted to mention that the OSD decision to approve increases to private school tuitions of 18% over the past 2 years coupled with the state's reimbursement of 44%, instead of the targeted 60 to 80% on transportation, has not helped that situation. It's contributing significantly. But the OSD impact, we are really feeling it because it's the base budget that we're dealing with, and then the growth, obviously, of things we didn't anticipate. We are, obviously, given the situation I provided to you, you're probably wondering, well, what do we do if additional costs come in? So we are hoping for, fingers crossed, extraordinary relief and as financial assistance in this fiscal year, the current fiscal year. The district is qualified for extraordinary relief due to a 25% plus increase in our special education budget, and that's based on expenditures over 2 consecutive years. So we received it last year, and we're hoping to get it this year again. In FY24, Walpole received $648,000 in state relief, and the district is hopeful for the additional FY25 relief to avoid seeking assistance from town officials. We will not know what that relief looks like. We know we qualify. In April, the state will tell us, based on the pool of money they have and who is applying for that pool, what we are entitled to and what we will receive, and then a month later in May, you receive the money. So, again, fingers crossed, because we don't know how much that will be. I'm hoping that it will be more than the $648 we received in FY24. The school department is actively reviewing cost containment strategies, though many expenditures are mandated, limiting flexibility and budget adjustments over time. And that's the challenge of special ed. It is a mandate, and unfortunately, a lot of it's underfunded, and that's what we are facing right now. Fortunately, due to your guidance, we have this reserve. Otherwise, we would have a crisis on our hands instantly and immediate. So that is the unfortunate FY25 update, and that will obviously have an impact on FY26. So I wanted to stop to see if you have any questions about 25 before I get into 26.
Questions for Mike?
I guess I would just comment on how unfortunately amazing it is that we wiped out that entire circuit breaker savings account already, and it's only February. It's concerning. And, you know, we've been increasing, we're on a climb of increasing costs in special ed. So I think we need to make it clear to especially the people in Walpole, but to our state reps next week also, that we did everything we could, but we don't have anything in our pockets for what could be still coming. And, you know, that we are gonna have to come to the town for help if there are increases that happen in February, March, April, May, or June. And yes, we might be able to get some money from the state, but most people don't rely on money that you might be able to get, because you don't know whether you will or you won't. So it's serious, it's a serious time for us.
Other comments, questions? Mike, maybe I'm misremembering, but this number seems like it's spiked quite a bit in the last few weeks.
A little bit more than the last few weeks, but you're right. It was hovering around $1.2 million, $1.25 million to $1.3 million. And we've had some changes in placements, some additional placements. And these are things we see coming. We know they're coming. But the budget is the budget. It's set back in May of, you know, when we voted at town meeting, you know, a year ago plus, a year and a half ago. So you're kind of watching, but there's not a lot you can do about it. And so we are just hoping that things will stabilize a bit and get through the next few months.
And I think this is another argument in favor of the way that we've shifted our approach to the special ed budget for FY26, right? Where we are sort of projecting to account for some of these things that we've seen in FY25, like creating the expectation that this is gonna happen next year again.
Yeah, we always budgeted for students in-house, and now to your point, we were looking ahead, looking at what's coming, especially when there's a certainty of, you know, that this expense is going to materialize, you just don't know how or how much. The idea that we need to look at those closely and keep those things in reserve, I guess, those spots in reserve. And we monitor each spot now as we move throughout the year. It's gotten to that point.
Okay. All right, why don't you take us into FY '26?
Okay, so FY '26 budget development process is in play. Began in November, and it works its way all the way through town meeting in May. And actually, I could say it goes beyond that, because this year's budget actually was impacted by fall town meeting, right? And getting some additional appropriation there for our budget. The school committee and school administration are working to bridge a $1.3 million funding gap between the school committee's budget and the town administrator's budget. So you guys voted your budget at the last school committee meeting, and the difference between that and what the town administrator is telling us he has available for our budget is a $1.3 million gap. I wouldn't say it's a surprise that we have a gap. Generally, we do, but that's a pretty significant size gap. And there's not a lot of resources around to close that gap. So this year is a little more challenging in that regard. Kind of a similar line as FY '25. So the key budget drivers this year are personnel. Our personnel expense is 85% of our overall budget. The most significant budget driver is projected personnel costs for FY '26. So our ongoing teacher and custodial union negotiations are in progress. We're currently still negotiating with our teachers. We met with our custodians, and we're able to settle have a tentative agreement that I'll provide to you guys tonight. And so we were very glad to have that, but we are obviously still negotiating with our teachers' contract, which is significantly more impactful than our custodian contract. So we are hopeful that the teacher negotiations will settle close to the school department's projections. A reasonable settlement at this point may help to avoid some of the anticipated position cuts in order to reduce the budget gap by $650,000. So we looked at the 1.3, we cut it in half and said $650,000. If there's nothing changes, if there's no one-time money, there's nothing to bridge that gap, would have to come from cuts. And that would be approximately 10 positions is what we're looking at right now. That's half the gap. Special education growth. Special education budget continues to grow at what I would call a disproportionate rate as compared to other things in our budget. FY '24 went up by $533,000 or 21%. FY '25 went up by $1,323,000 or 42%. And then, FY '26 we're looking at $865,000, which is 19%. So you can see these enormous growth, percent-wise and dollar-wise, that we've been working with the town to sustain, but how far will that go, right, when you're doing leaps of that size? So the total is $2,721,000 over 3 years, which is obviously an enormous amount of money for one particular component of our budget. That does not include the personnel piece. In addition, the third budget driver this year is healthcare insurance, which we just learned about. I think a lot of the country's facing rising healthcare costs. That's not a surprise, but we are facing a larger than anticipated one. So when our town administrator committed to supporting our budget at the percent we're at now and the dollar amount, he was anticipating that healthcare would be at a certain rate, and it came in higher than that. So he is now looking for how to close that bit of a gap. I would just say that the school committee and town officials are collaborating to manage the impact of these changes, specifically healthcare, but obviously these other substantial increases. So funding strategies and challenges due to the FY '25 financial challenges, one-time funding sources such as circuit breaker carryover, unfortunately, are no longer available to close budget gaps. So the strategies that we worked on in our workshops that we did and I presented to you, some of those options are now off the table because those funding sources, unfortunately, are not there. So we're continuing to explore both recurring and non-recurring revenue sources to address funding shortfalls. So as the options close out, we'll look at new options and consider things that might be available that we didn't think of before. So that's the update for 26. I wish I had more positive news, but I want to keep you apprised of the situation as we move along, because our options are changing and our strategies are going to need to change as well.
Questions or comments? Mrs. Rogers?
I'm just so thankful that you're in this position, because I just, like you were noting, like with this difference, the 1.2 million was in my head as well, you know, rising up to 1.6. It's just, it's fluctuating so much in the wrong, not even fluctuating, it's just seeming to be in the wrong direction. So I'm hopeful that, you know, I know how creative you are, and that hopefully we can get more funding. Like, what is with the healthcare difference? How much is like a percentage or a dollar amount that it came in higher than anticipated?
So the total was about 300,000, based on what he was budgeting for as compared to the reality, in the indication he was getting. The commitment and the actual percent increase in dollar will come to him, I believe, next week. He's like, we're in about like a 1 to 2 week window there. He's hoping to get that clarification, but that's what he's estimating at this point.
Okay. Thank you for all your hard work.
Other questions or comments? Nancy?
I guess it's just important for us to do everything we can to advocate for the budget. I think that I look at the increase in health insurance, the increase in the special ed, and the fact that we were handed the tri-county bill as three sort of out of the ordinary, like, problems that landed on us. And I think we need a collaborative budget correction. It's not like we want a big increase going from one year to the other. We own part of the health insurance. Most of the people who take health insurance in Walpole work for the schools, so it is partly our problem, but I think that the next couple of weeks are really important ones in terms of advocacy, because we should go into this with our eyes open, that if we're taking so much more money, because we have to, and because they deserve it, to put into the special ed budget, it's coming at a cost. And, you know, I just think it's important for us to advocate for ourselves.
I agree, and I would add, you know, these two pieces of news regarding the spike in the special ed deficit for FY '25 and the health insurance numbers follow our vote on our budget, right? This is not information we had on January 23rd when we voted our number, and the number that we voted on January 23rd represents, as I noted at that meeting, level services for the district. No new positions, no new programs, just to keep things running at the level that they're running right now, and to avoid having to cut 10+ people, possibly, right? And I just feel like that's important to state, because we knew that the revenue picture was not ideal at that time for the whole town, and we have a responsibility to provide the best services that we can provide for our students and maintain our staffing levels. And as Nancy said, we have a responsibility for these mandates that come upon us in special ed that are underfunded. So I think, yes, like, we will be creative, we will be collaborative, and we will continue to advocate for ourselves and get to the best and most practical number we can get to by the time all of this is said and done. Anything further on budget? Nancy, do you want to talk about the advocacy that we've been sort of trying to do thus far, or do you want to save that for when we go into?
Sure, either way.
Why don't we just, yeah.
So I think Monday night at Finance Committee is a really important time to lay out the story of what we've done to make it through last year, for example. I think that we were asked to tighten our belt and, empty any reserves that we had so that we could get to this year. And we did. But that means that the pocket's empty. And we talked about the fact that there was the potential to have this special ed continue to climb, and it did. So it's not like we didn't lay the foundation for this, but I think that that Walpole people have come together when times have been tough, and I think that this is one of them. And I think that it's like, if it's not clear to everyone who is on the select board and who is on the finance committee, I hope by this point next week that everybody is clear on it. And I think that that's just our job to say, we have the unknown of the teacher's contract, and it would be highly unfair to take out our budget problems specifically on the teachers. So, that's really not a solution. That doesn't mean that we won't, and we are negotiating with all the facts on the table, and they know that we're trying to not eliminate positions. But I think the first piece of advocacy is right here with people in town, including people that we know who are town meeting members, because I think both for us and probably for the state too, that they're gonna have to prioritize. Like, for example, when people voted the fair share, it's not an amendment, but I forget the exact term for it, at the state a couple of years ago, it was the millionaire's tax. So the stated purpose for that was education and transportation, pretty much 50-50. And so far, K-12 education has gotten some of the money, but an awful lot of the money has gone to early childhood and has gone to higher ed. And I think we need to make some really loud collective noise that, I think when people think of education, they're really thinking of K-12. And, even if you just mathematically think about it, there's 2 grades for preschool, there's 13 grades for K-12, and there's 4 grades for college. So I just did it the other day. 68% of the grades are K-12. And if you think of the number of students, it's probably more like 80% of the public educated students are in our school district. So I think there's an argument for the state, and they probably know it, that they have to prioritize. And if we make enough collective noise with all the other towns, because I don't know of a town that's not struggling right now. I know of towns that have lost overrides. I've know of towns that are planning overrides. And so, it's a collective problem. And I think that the good thing about the fair share tax is that it's not money that has been committed yet. So I think it's the easiest money to advocate for. It's different from saying, well, that money that you promised to the police department, we want it. If it's new money, that's an easier one for the legislators to support. So I think that that's a super important piece of collective conversation. It's on the agenda tomorrow morning, for example, at the tech board meeting, so that it's a matter of making sure all of our state legislators are basically hearing the same kind of noise. So those are some of the thoughts. Yeah, Jen?
Are we going to put anything in writing to that effect? I just know in the past when we've been advocating, just to make sure, if everybody's talking and making noise, sometimes having something in writing in front of them with a bunch of towns and signatures on it might get somebody's attention.
I'm putting together a handout for next Thursday. But we're just gonna be talking to our 5 legislators right there. What I feel like I've learned is if we do our homework for them so that they have some information, then they can take that next step. I'm hoping that the tech board members, which is 15 towns, 17 as of when 2 more towns join, will take that same information to their state reps. But I really think that the Tri-County Superintendent Roundtable, which a lot of both BICO and TEC's superintendents are involved in, is the time to coalesce around on exactly what the specific language is. Because just having done this, like when I used to work with the Suburban Coalition, I feel like you have to be, it's a big loss that's gone.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, MASC has not picked up the ball either. So, but I do think it's doable. And I think that what we have to do is we have to be open-minded to, like, nailing down the specific words. And that's where I think the 28th of February with the Tri-County superintendents is by that point, we need to have a clear, concise ask. And I think that among us, we can talk to a bunch of enough superintendents seem to be more mobilized right at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It needs to be a clear message.
And I sent you an email to that breakfast director.
Yes.
And if you just open it up, there's a link to RSVP if you can go.
Okay, well, we will certainly return to that topic of
Yeah,
conversation
yeah.
multiple times over the next several months. Next,
Can we stay on it for one more minute on a
Sure.
different tangent of it? I had talked to Bridget and Mike about our comprehensive budget sheet, because I think it's confusing in some ways. Like, and a thought that I had was, if we color-coded some of the things at the bottom to differentiate them. For example, we have a line that says circuit breaker, and it's the money that we expect to come in that will be able to be used to support part of our budget. But right underneath it, we have circuit breaker carryover, which has been wiped out. And I think that if we point out a few specific lines, and I was thinking that it should be circuit breaker, Medicaid reimbursement, and the IDEA grant. Those are the things that, if we didn't have those grants coming in, we'd be coming to the town for that much more money, or we'd be cutting way more dollars. So I think that those things are different from athletics and transportation and extracurricular activities. I think that I was asking them to look at a way to present this so that it's a little bit more understandable for the number crunchers. And I just wanted to sort of put that out there to see if it made sense to you guys.
Yeah, we worked on it.
would you separate out federal from state money?
Because the federal IDEA money, for example, is, it's gonna be almost $1 million. And we use a lot of it to pay for our special ed teachers. So I think that is similar to what we use circuit breaker for. I think that, like, there are grants down here that if they went away, we wouldn't have the program. If Title I went away, we wouldn't have a Title I program. If Metco went away, we wouldn't have a Metco program. If the Safe School Initiative didn't come through, we wouldn't. So it's different from the IDEA, where we would have to come up with our own local money to pay for it. It's
Okay.
just, it's,
Okay. I see what you're saying.
some of this is extras, And some of
No,
this
I
we're
was just
so
thinking,
dependent
like,
on.
I was just thinking about the difference between like Medicaid and circuit breaker, for example, right? Medicaid is federal
Right,
and circuit breaker is the state.
but we're mandated to provide transportation for those kids that qualify for McKinney-Vento or.
Right, so really what I think you're suggesting is like mandated costs slash funding sources versus the ones that are program specific to a program sort of.
And
like-
somehow identify that circuit breaker carryover as, this is what we've built up over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's gone. Because, you know, it is. And I know that they'll update that, but I understand why we did it this way and why, what we were trying to show is all the money that we have and what it goes for. But I do think it's a little bit confusing.
Maybe, yeah, I think perhaps a different color background or an asterisk or bolding or italicizing or something. Maybe we don't even need to reorganize the layout so much
No, I
as just
wouldn't
call
either.
attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked on highlighting, because the packets are in, they're going tomorrow morning, so we did that, and we can take a look at it, and, you know,
Okay.
next week.
Great. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to middle school building project update.
You know, it's a meeting on Tuesday, and I know Mark's not here, so that's it.
Okay. High school project
We got a
update?
permanent building committee meeting on Tuesday, so we'll get an update after that.
You're saying permanent building is Tuesday?
Permanent building is
Okay.
also Tuesday.
All right, so there'll be more to share after that.
More to share.
But we can see that the progress is being made at the high school.
You can see it.
It's happening.
Yes, you can.
Some of us can hear it from our houses. Okay, moving on to subcommittee activity. We've kind of alluded to the legislative breakfast coming up. So is there anything more to say about that?
It's at the middle school. I just sent a note to the legislators this evening, asking can they come earlier than 9:30?
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens there. I'll let you know. But we're gonna use the cafeteria, and I haven't checked the RSVP list, but I don't think, I'll send out another note asking people to let us know. I think we're setting up for probably the right amount of people that are gonna show up. And Bridget's working with some of the students to come, which is
So I've
great.
got some members of the student superintendent cabinet who are going to speak.
Yeah.
Excellent. Any other subcommittee activity? I mentioned to Bill that we'll be needing to schedule an evaluation subcommittee meeting this month, or early March.
Yeah, early March. Let's get, I have to get through budget first.
Okay, moving on, seeing no citizens present to make comments, we move on to approval of warrants, donations, and minutes. Would somebody like to take the warrants? Mrs. Rogers.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the following warrants. Payroll under warrant number 2529 PS. Accounts payable for schools, food service, special education, student activities, and the WMS project, all under warrant number 225030. And accounts payable for schools, food service, and student activities under warrant number 225031 for the amounts listed in your packets.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Rogers, second by Mrs. Cyrek. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 500. Somebody like to take the gifts? Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the following gifts: to Old Post Road from Bay State Textiles Dedham Savings for $467.10, to Boyden from Bay State Textiles Waffle Co-op Box Tops and Dedham Savings for $1,623.30, to Elm Street from Dedham Savings for $375, and to Fisher School from Dedham Savings for $375.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Cyrek, second by Mrs. Rogers. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 500. Lastly, would somebody like to take the minutes?
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 22nd, 2025 public budget hearing meeting minutes.
21st, January 21st.
January 21st, I don't know what I said. Play back the film. Yep.
Motion by Mrs. Rogers, second by Ms. Gayotzis. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 500.
And a motion to approve the January 23rd, 2025 school committee meeting minutes.
Motion by Mrs. Rogers, second by Ms. Gayotzis. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 500. There is a need for an executive session this evening for the purposes of union and non-union negotiation strategies, so I will entertain a motion.
So moved for the stated purpose?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Gallivan, second by Ms. Gayotzis. Poll of the committee, Mrs. Rogers? Yes. Mrs. Syrak?
Yes.
Ms. Gallivan?
Yes.
Ms. Gayotzis? Ms. Denizio, yes. 500. We will return to public session only for the purposes of adjournment. Thank you.